Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekend Rental, the podcast where we discuss gaming, movies, geek culture, anything that comes to mind. I am Ryan. Today with me, we've got Andy.
Hey.
And Justin.
Hey, everyone.
All right, this is episode 13, first episode of 2018. We're looking to push the show along, try some new things, a slightly tweaked format. Those of you who are familiar with it are going to be right at home with our first segment, though, and that is, of course, Buy, Rent, Burn. This is the segment of the podcast where we discuss everyone's games. Basically, we each pick a game, bring it to the table, and we'll all play them and then give our opinions on which game we would personally buy, rent, or burn. This week, we're going with Game Boy titles, and Andy has gone with Quirk for the Game Boy, which... according to the back of the box, the description is everybody's run into quirks, like when your shoelaces got tied together or socks never matched, and behind it all was the original Quirk himself. I didn't know he did that. That's amazing. But now Quirk, the chilled tomato, is in a bit of a stew. Somebody has set up a trap for his main squeeze, Tammy, and Quirk's the only trucking tomato with a chance to rescue her from this puzzling predicament. Wow. I can't wait. And Justin has gone with David Crane's The Rescue of Princess Blobette. Description on this one: Blob is back. That's right. The jelly bean loving Blob and his faithful Earth Boy companion, are there boys from anywhere else, by the way, are back in a brand new adventure. This time out, the duo's exploits take them to the royal castle of Blobonia. I swear they were there last time too. Blob's home planet, as they attempt to free the lovely and imprisoned Princess Blobette from the clutches of the treacherous anti-agnostic alchemist. Okay. I'm going to pretend that that's the right word that I just read. Join our heroes as they encounter secret rooms, clever traps, and dangerous obstacles in the labyrinthine depths of the castle. But all is not lost. These two share a very special secret. With each flavor of jelly bean the boy feeds the Blob, Blob will magically transform into a different shape that can help this intrepid pair get past just about anything the alchemist can conjure up. And it's got a game quote on the back of the box here: rewarding and fun. Game Players magazine. Boy, good thing I didn't use too many words. The sensational sequel to A Boy and His Blob, winner of 1990's Parents' Choice approval. If that's going to sell, that's going to sell some games. I'm sure that was a big help back in the day. And my pick is Sneaky Snakes. Description on this one: Sneaky Snakes is the spine-tingling tale of two rip-roaring reptiles, Attila and I'm gonna just guess this is how they want you to pronounce it, Gang Hiss. When Sonia Snake is nabbed by the nasty Nibbler, it's more than they can swallow. So Attila and Gang Hiss must slither about to snatch Sonia from the nest of the nasty Nibbler. I swear that's just a repeat of the first paragraph, pretty much. But first, they must survive 16 serpentine levels, each swarming with enemies so slippery and sly, it'll make your skin shed. All right. To scale from one nibblicious landscape to the next.
Adding that one to my vocabulary.
Yeah. To consume those ever-tasty nibblies and head for the scale before time runs out. So just don't sit there hissing. Get nibbling, snake. That must be this is the worst box. Okay, so those are the descriptions of these fantastic Game Boy games. How about just an overview from each of us? Maybe get into the games a little bit more. We'll go back up to the top. Andy, you can tell us a little bit more about Quirk.
Yeah, well, Quirk is he looks like, obviously it's a tomato, but to me, he looks like the older brother of Cool Spot, who wasn't like paid attention to enough or something like that. So he had like a punk phase.
Yeah, he's like the hardcore punk version of Cool Spot. That's a good reference. Yeah.
He's got like a green mohawk, and he's just a kind of a badass. Um, so when you see that box art, you wouldn't think it's just kind of a box pushing puzzle game, which it is. But overall, I like it. It's that genre was done to death on that system, but I think this was like one of the originals, and it plays pretty well, and it mixes it up enough. It has enough different mechanics in it where it's not just okay, you got to move boxes around and figure out that it's moving other things around, dropping it in the floor, making platforms. It does a lot with a little, but that said, it I didn't play it too long just because it just wears out its welcome a little bit. What about you guys?
I'm still just confused that he's a tomato. Like, did that? I don't. They obviously didn't design the game in mind with him being a tomato, so they must have done that for box art purposes or something. Because he
Yeah,
doesn't look like a tomato.
I'm not sure.
That's weird.
It was
Go ahead.
terrible drawing, so they just decided it was a tomato instead.
Yeah. That circle isn't good enough. Well, let's just call it a tomato. Okay, yeah, that could work.
The funny thing is, there's a sequel to this game for the Game Boy called like The Amazing Tater or something like that, which is about a potato. Same type of game style,
It's
and
like
it's like
super rare, right?
yeah, it's like the most expensive Game Boy game.
So they liked their veggies at listed.
Yep. Which it's probably something to point out that it was an Atlas made game, but it was actually published by Acclaim here. So you go from like the highest brand name in gaming to one of the lowest for the publisher.
Yeah, it's quite the spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. I kind of like you. I didn't get too far into it. I mean, the one thing that I kept thinking though as I was playing it is the scale of everything is so small. Obviously, on a Game Boy back with those screens back in the day, if you think of the original Game Boy when this would have come out, like this would have been kind of a difficult game to really see like all the pieces and components on some of these maps as you get further along and they get a little more busy as far as like blocks and traps and I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
It seemed like they could have scaled it up a little bit more. It's not like you would have necessarily had to see the full puzzle because everything's a single screen puzzle. But then they also have like a huge area dedicated to your starting area and then the exit area. And it eats up a lot of this real estate where I feel like they could have maybe scaled that back and made it a little more manageable. I mean, that was just like the first thing I thought of as I was playing it.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying there, but the a couple of levels in there where you have to plan your later on move, like what you're going to do with the floor and whatnot.
Yeah, you have to see it all.
Yeah.
So you have to see the whole screen, but
Right.
I don't know how they could have done that differently because
I think even if they would have just like made the exit and entry points a little bit shrunken down, and then you could have still had everything on screen. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see where you're going, especially for the Game Boy. Almost everything on there was blown up to like huge proportions where usually the main complaint on games is that you can't see enough, So it's funny, it's the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has some interesting mechanics. You don't usually see puzzle games like this. I guess the closest thing I was thinking of is like, is it that Boxy Boy on Sega Genesis and maybe TurboGrafx? It's kind of similar, but this is a little more involved in that you're not only shifting boxes around in some levels, you're like flipping switches or, yeah, as you pointed out, filling in platforms. So it's kind of cool. It's like a more elaborate take on that type of game, and it allows for more interesting combinations of puzzles, I think.
Yep. For some reason, like that box pushing puzzle type genre was just like huge in Japan. They made a ton of them, even a lot that didn't even come over here. But
Oh, really?
yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that. But Quirk is a character, though. I don't know if you know this. He was featured in a cartoon.
Really?
Yes, there was a Captain N ripoff that featured basically Acclaim video game characters, and it was called The Power Team.
And this aired in America?
Yep, it was on. I think it was like a segment of a different show called like Video Power, maybe, or something like that.
Okay.
I don't ever remember seeing it, but just kind of in the research here that, yeah, so there's like, Captain N's got Mega Man, Simon Belmont, like all these huge stars in video gaming.
Right.
This one, the power team has like Quirk, some guy from Wizards and Warriors, I think a basketball player from like Arch Rivals, and like Bigfoot the monster truck, Quirk, and like
This cartoon sounds like it might actually be better than this game. Like I kind of need to find some of this now. I'm gonna have to see if some of this has got to be on YouTube. This sounds amazing.
oh yeah, yep.
Moving along to David Crane, I guess.
Yeah.
Justin, can you tell us a little bit about the rescue of Princess Blobette?
Well, it's basically the same game as the first one, just on a different map, I guess, or levels. But I honestly didn't play this one too long. I felt it was too close to the same. That's why I didn't give it as much time as I probably should have. But it's a puzzle type game with the jelly beans, figuring out what item to use to get further, I guess, through the level. I don't know. I guess I just didn't really like the way this one played compared to the first one on NES.
I would agree with you. It's like pretty virtually almost a carbon copy of the gameplay. I kind of liked how the sprites were a little bit bigger. I thought that was kind of cool. And I really appreciated more so than anything is that opening trap room essentially to kind of get you acclimated. And like I just kept thinking as I was playing this, because we've obviously played A Boy and His Blob, but like how many kids got this game and never saw anything beyond that room? I bet there was a good percentage. I mean, it was really like it was ingenious to me and intuitive, but yeah, if you had no idea what that game was about, man, you just got screwed. Like you spent all your allowance money to see this one room with a blob, a kid, and some jelly beans, and that's the game.
That's why it was the parents' choice, because the kids had to turn off the Game Boy.
Yeah, I thought it played really well. I kind of, the limited color palette of the NES, and just the zoom in on the characters, I liked it. I agree. I didn't get too far because it is more or less just an extension of that same gameplay style. But I guess I didn't even realize that there was this sequel on the Game Boy from the original, so it was kind of neat to see it.
I played it all the way through. I followed a walkthrough on pretty much 3/4 of it. It didn't take too long, but boy, I have to say, like, a lot of it is the limitation of the Game Boy compared to the NES. Like, you can't mix it up as much. Like, everything just seemed like, oh, it's just platforms. There's no, like, different settings as you go around different areas there. And yeah, the one on the NES, you go to the other planet and it gets really weird really fast and kind of gets interesting. Where this one it's boring.
One trick
like
pony.
Nothing really happens. Like there's no bad guy either, really. Like, spoiler, but at the end of it, you find her in a cage and you just like use, one of the jelly beans to open the cage. She falls out. Which, by the way, she is not, I don't know how the box art was describing her, something like beautiful or something, but she got the mispack. She has a bow on. It's the same blob as your blob, but she has a big bow on. So I have to disagree with their description on how ravaging she is.
So it was a bit of a letdown, is what you're saying?
Yes, I was expecting this beautiful thing, but it was not.
I'm going to go in a completely weird direction here, but how do you suppose blobs have intercourse? Do you think they have to form the genitals and then they do that? Or is it like one of them morphs into like a hot dog and then one morphs into like a donut?
Just imagine the jelly beans that you got to feed them.
Yeah.
Okay, babe, which beans should we take tonight?
or is it like the X-Men situation with Charlize Theron's like character who can just like change into anything, so like it's like a different girl every night, sort of? I mean, is that how these blobs get into it?
Could be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Glad I went down that rabbit hole.
I mean, we're not going to find out. It's a parent's choice, so they're never going to touch
true.
that subject.
It's true. Maybe we should reach out to David Crane and have him bring an M-rated version of this game back.
Yeah, man, that would be a bad idea.
All right, so let's go on to our last game here. Sneaky Snakes.
Nibble it.
Yeah, let's nibble it. Oh, that nasty nibbler. He's up to no good. So Sneaky Snakes, if for those of you who are familiar on the NES, there's a game called Snake Rattle and Roll, which is made by Rare. This is also a Rare game. And it's basically that game, but on the NES, it's like a pseudo 3D isometric platformer. The objective is to just eat stuff up on the level, not take damage. If you take, and your snake grows as you eat items. And then if you take damage, your snake shrinks, and you have to reach a certain weight to open the door at the end of the level based on a scale. This is a carbon copy of that gameplay, but because it's on the Game Boy, it's just two-dimensional. So you've got this side-scrolling platformer with the same objective. Probably some of the slipperiest, no pun intended, controls of any platformer I think I've ever played. It's near impossible to keep these guys from sliding off of everything in certain levels. And I honestly think, while I wouldn't go so far to say as this is a great game, I think this is a better interpretation of the game than the actual Snake Rattle and Roll on the NES. It's a little bit more playable because it's just a flat 2D, but I don't know, it's just a weird game. I love the soundtrack, by the way. Every track in there is just awesome. It's like weird rockabilly, like arcade sounding music. What did you guys think?
I have to agree. This is way better than the Snake Rattle and Roll. Just the fact that it's kind of like a solid 2D thing. I liked a lot of the personality to it too. Like when you go in the water and you kind of like bubble up and you just start bloating up. Like that's it's kind of funny. Just something you don't see. That I don't know. Overall, the graphics on it were very good, especially for like 91. I thought it was early 91. I thought it looked pretty good to me. But yeah, it's a game about nibbling balls. So
yeah, but those balls don't want to be nibbled. They'll hop every which way to get away from you. You got to work to nibble them balls. I also want to point out that, like, in most games when you run out of time, the game just ends. In this game, when you run out of time, a giant flying axe comes to like cut you in half. It just like spawns out of nowhere, and if you're quick enough, you can actually avoid the thing and make it to the end of the level. But it's kind of unexpected, and it turns like, I don't know, it immediately just makes me into like panic mode. I'm sweating and trying to get away from this damn axe. It's weird.
There were like some things that were like, it seemed like they were supposed to hurt you but didn't. Like I thought there was like some spikes that I landed on and you could just go on them. Didn't do anything.
Oh really?
Or maybe I was wrong. Yeah.
Well, if you get the diamond, then you can. If you pick up the diamond, you're invincible, but it doesn't really clearly indicate that because it doesn't flash or... I mean, it slowly flickers, but it's weird.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, well, there's a level where the spikes are, and it does hurt you because I jumped on them. It's hurt by them, so.
I know, I died.
I'd never played either one of these games. Like, what was the other one you called?
It's Snake Rattle and Roll is the NES.
Yeah, I'd never played that. So when I got into this game, I had no idea what I was doing. I went through, and then you get into that warp section. And the first one I picked, I ended up warping back. I was like, really? So then I went to the end, and then I couldn't get through. I was like, well, it looks like a scale. Now what? Go back through, and finally I figured out eating stuff you grew. But it's an interesting game.
Yeah. I like that opening stage, too, because it immediately just kind of screws with you. You just come up to like a cliff over spikes, and you have to do this like huge leap of faith, not knowing what's going to happen. It's an interesting opening to a game.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've heard the fantastic description on all of these wonderful titles, and we've gotten everyone's kind of thoughts on each after we've played them. Why why don't we go through? We'll do our picks. We can start back up off at the top. Andy, if you want to give us your breakdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna nibble on those balls and give me sneaky snakes for my buy.
I'm taking that clip out of context and using it for everything going forward.
Like you said, the gameplay gets a little loose, but and floaty or something. But the graphics I like quite a bit, and the gameplay, like taking like what I knew what Snake Rattle Roll, and then like you said, turning it in 2D. It just kind of simplified it to the point where it was like, okay, this works better. This is what it should have been on the NES. I wish they would have made that game on the NES because it would have been, a lot more colorful, probably a lot better than this one too. But that one's going to be my buy. My rent is going to be Quirk, just because. Look at him. Look at that, a tomato with a mohawk, like that. That can't be a burn.
If you didn't at least rent him, he might cut you. You don't know. You
right.
Don't want to take a chance.
Right. And you don't know if he's a fruit or a vegetable. It's tough to say, like, what he is. So you don't. He's just a little unexpected that way. But the game itself is fine. For 2018 now, it's a little played out, but overall, it's not a bad puzzle game, especially for that early on. And then my burn is going to be David Crane's The Rescue of Princess Blobbat. And I'm kind of disappointed because I found the NES one interesting, and this one just didn't take the Game Boy. I mean, they knew the limitations of the Game Boy, and instead of like working around it like Sneaky Snakes does, they just tried to do the same thing, and it's just like a gimped version of it. So yeah, I'll burn that one.
Nice. How about you, Justin?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same line here, I guess. My buy is going to be Sneaky Snakes. I really enjoyed that game for what it is. Like I said, I've never played it or Snake Rattle and Roll, but once I figured out, I guess, the object of it and everything, I really enjoyed it. And I guess my rent is going to be Quirk. Those type of games, I don't know, just kind of seem to interest me sometimes, just for random pick up and play off and on. And my burn is going to be The Rescue of Princess Blobbat, mainly just because I felt like it was the same thing as before in the first one, just not nearly as fun or well done, I guess. I don't know. It just didn't feel like the game had everything it should have. But that's probably because it's on the Game Boy. So
makes sense. I liked all of these games in their own right, and it's kind of a weird one because I don't think anything here really stands out. So I kind of, when I was thinking about these games, because I wasn't sure which way to go, I kind of looked at it and I'm like, and I had to put it in the perspective of the Game Boy in its time and like what type of games I'd want to be playing on it. As far as like pick up and play, replay value, and that's kind of where I made my decision. So I'm actually going to buy Sneaky Snakes because, as Andy pointed out, it's a game that it tires itself out pretty quickly, but it's a game that I could easily see myself picking up and, putting that hour into it in a go and just being done with it. It's a good Game Boy game in that, right? And it is fun. And when it does wear itself out, you just turn it off and come back to it later. And then I would rent Quirk. I think just because that type of game, once you understand how the puzzles are working, I mean, really, how often are you going to go back to that game? I mean, you're going to pick it up every once in a while and play through to see how far you can get. But to me, it kind of fits that rental mold. I wouldn't want to turn it on because it's the Game Boy, not have a battery backup, and then just have to start from the beginning every freaking time. And then I'm burning the Rescue of Princess Blobbat for the same reasons you guys are. I was really impressed with The Boy and His Blob on the NES, and this, while it's similar, it kind of gives you that same vibe. It's just kind of a more lifeless version of a game I really like. And I just, for a Game Boy title, it's a weird pick. I can't see an adventure game like that being something that's really great for like short play periods on a handheld. So it just kind of makes sense. And once again, David Crane has let us all down.
Except parents.
Right. Parents love David Crane. So yeah, that is our buy rent burn. If you are familiar with the podcast, you might have noticed that we are going to start making these a little bit more consistent battles, and we're always going to pick a dedicated console moving forward. The games will of course change, but we'll all pick a game from the same console. We went with Game Boy this time. Obviously, we're going to change it up episode to episode, but it just makes I think it makes everything just a little bit more comparable and a little bit more interesting for the buy rent burn.
Yeah, especially this could you imagine any other 16-bit game going up against any of these? Blow them out of the water, I think.
Yeah, there wasn't really anything that just stands out. I mean, these are all okay games, and I think that's kind of where they level off. It's just, it's a fine game. Like,
yep,
it's a very fine lot of Game Boy games that I'd rather play any 16-bit system any day. All right, so buy rent burn out of the way. What have you fellas been up to lately? Anything exciting going on?
Well, we took a few weeks off from the podcast, so we've had quite a while to play different things, I think.
Yes.
I ended up somehow, I don't know how this happened, but there's a PlayStation VR in my house now. I don't know if I'll admit that I purchased it, but I'm just going to say it's here.
Now come on now. You were like pretty proud. You text Justin and I, you're like, I just bought the best thing ever. Like 20 exclamation points.
I don't know if it was 20, but it was.
All right, 10.
Sure, I'll give you that.
You had to have somebody else take the picture with you in it.
Yeah. Proof. I had to hold a newspaper too to prove that.
Today's date. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. No, Walmart had it really cheap. They're closing out the old models, and it was like came with Gran Turismo, which I love Gran Turismo games, even if this one is pretty awful. And I still have not actually played it, but that's a new game, so that bundled in, like it was at the right price where it's just like, okay, I'll just throw this money away, even if it's complete garbage. But I don't know. So, I'm having fun with it.
When you say the old bundle, like, I guess I had heard there's a revision of the PlayStation VR, but like, what are the differences? Do you know? Is it just a sleeker design, or?
Yeah, there's it comes with built-in headphones. I think the mic is better. One of the other big things is it doesn't pass HDR signal through the like breakout box. So like if you have a fancy new TV with HDR, like right out of the gate, this thing is not going to work with that. Or at least not past that signal to it. But I'm not too worried about that side of it, at least for now.
And I suppose that would pose a problem for people like streamers and stuff who want to like pass through their potentially like into your recording devices too. I mean, is that another issue or not? Would that
could be affect? Yeah. I'm not even sure the wiring nightmare that you'd have to do to stream a VR game like that. I'm not sure.
Well, now that you mention that, I think we've had that discussion on the podcast in the past where we figure it's only inevitable before somebody strangulates themselves to death with VR. But I don't know. Did you guys hear the news? I can't remember which headset it was, but there's like a recorded death in like the UK of a guy using, I think, I want to say PlayStation VR. Might have been the Vive.
Really?
Apparently he was playing it, tripped, and fell through his glass coffee table.
Wow.
And dead. So, Andy, just keep it safe.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't have any coffee tables, do you?
No, not glass ones anyway.
Okay. Good. I'm worried about you.
I'll have to wear like a helmet. Yeah. Um, There's a lot of safety precautions I haven't. I'll have to wear safety glasses on the inside of the VR helmet.
Yeah, I mean, be smart about it, right? Safety first.
Elbow pads.
Elbow pads. Yeah.
Look like I'm about to head out to the rollerblade rink and then instead of go right into VR.
Speaking of that, I loved that your wife like secretly recorded you playing that thing, sent the video to my wife so that I could see it.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It was fantastic. Because the bottom line is, no matter how cool VR is, everyone looks like a dumbass playing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, every time you feel so cool when you're in there, but when you actually look at it, you're like look like you're like milking a cow upside down or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. So if you haven't played Gran Turismo, what have you been playing on it? Like anything notable or?
Yeah, I went kind of crazy. They had some pretty good sales. There's a lot of stuff that's just kind of garbage. And everything's like really short, but the standouts for me so far are Job Simulator, which is really cool. It uses like the Move controller, so it's like pretty much if you see it, you can grab it and throw it around, and like that's the type of things that I like VR, just like screwing around in it. And Res Infinite is probably my favorite game so far. I love Res to begin with, but the VR mode that they have in there is like a free range, kind of like huge area. And wow, it's incredible. Just the music going along with everything. Yeah, I love that. I've played that. Again, it's short. It's maybe like a half hour to play through that like new mode. And I probably played it 6-7 times now. I'll probably play it many more. But there's some pretty bad ones too. Like I paid pretty good money there's a Final Fantasy fishing game.
I saw you online playing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really excited about that, but holy cow, that like the resolution of that headset, and they just like didn't do any work to like make it look good in there. So like they took the full res game and just like downsampled it. Oh, it looks like a really bad PS1 game.
So obviously they're cashing in. They're like, we'll put Final Fantasy on it and anyone will buy it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't realize it was a separate game. I just kind of assumed when I saw you online and that it was just some sort of weird mode in Final Fantasy 15. But
oh yeah, you had to buy it.
Product.
Yeah, but so far there's a lot of cool demos and stuff that you can just download for free. That's pretty much what it is. Like VR is like a half-hour thing. Get in and out, play something. That's about it. I did buy Skyrim for it just because I wanted to see what that would be like. I know I wouldn't probably never do it, and yeah, I was right. Like that is not the type of game that I want to play in VR at all.
I could see that. How do you move in that game? Like a game where you're traversing. I mean, can you actually walk with a controller, or is it like spot movement? Like you look at a place and your character jumps?
It does something weird where like when you're moving it, like the field of vision in the headset kind of like narrows. So that must have something to do with like your like so you don't get nauseated by it. But like when you turn the camera, it does it in like it kind of jumps. It doesn't do like a smooth camera turn. So but that said, even just like moving around in that game, I did get a little queasy just because you're like turning around and like, you know, there's people there just trying to stab you with stuff. So you're constantly moving around. It's not a sit still type of game, you know?
Right.
That was one of the games when they announced that they were doing that one on VR. Like that one sounds like it'd be really interesting, but I can't imagine many people could play it. Like I know I would be sick immediately.
Yeah.
But just the movement in that game, like I don't know how they would do that to make it playable.
Right. Yeah, I would not recommend it.
Would you recommend the headset?
For like if you're getting into it at $150, yeah, I'd say go for it. It's fun for that. There's enough free stuff online that are just like perfect throwaway stuff. Like there's a Call of Duty like spaceship thing that's free to download, and you know, it's maybe 10 minutes, but it's pretty awesome. There's just a whole bunch of that type of stuff on there that's like, yeah, throw it in, do it quick. But the only reason I got it is because I am a sucker, and I had 2 PlayStation Move controllers from back when they actually announced those things. So, like, there's not many people that are like that have Move controllers already, and then would also be interested in buying a VR headset. So, like, I'm a pretty special case in that way, where the entry point was much lower.
Right. Well, that helps. If you were smart enough to pick those Move controllers up when they were first out, or like dirt cheap, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
definitely saves you some cash on getting into it.
Yeah, would have never ever expected them to be, a hot commodity at one point, when they were fire sailing it.
Right.
Be like, oh, this will be a really hot product in 2 or 3 years from now. But here we are.
If the Kinect comes back, my mind is going to be blown.
Yeah. The downside of all of this is now I'm starting to collect physical copies of PlayStation VR games, and that's not a good thing, because it's really dumb when you're collecting these things that are like 20 minutes long.
Well, I mean, you are buying all those limited run games and then never playing them too, so
Yeah, that's true.
at least you're using these, even if they are 20 minutes.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I'll have to watch the bargain bins for you.
Yes, please do. Their VR games are a little weird. Like, going forward, I don't know if there's going to be too many that actually have physical copies, but the ones that were out right away, I don't know. The distribution was really weird, so some of them are already very rare.
Yeah, so I didn't get anything new or any fun, exciting toys, I guess, over our break for the holidays. I kind of took a bit of a break from gaming all around. I mean, I did a little bit here and there with my kids, but I kind of just let it fall off. I don't even know if I got a game for Christmas. Well, my wife got me she got it for me. It hasn't shown up. The 8-bit Christmas for this year. She ordered it she said she ordered it like December 4th, and apparently that whole batch, like anything after December 2nd, is delayed, and they'll notify you when it's manufactured. Mine still hasn't been built yet. So kind of waiting on that. And actually, I wish I hadn't seen a leak of this, but
oh man, those are badass.
Yeah, it's got an LCD screen where the label would be. So like it's got this awesome like digital display to show which game you're playing. Like the label is a miniature screen, which I hope somebody takes that and runs with it, like the EverDrive series. Like, how great would that be for something like that, where like you load a ROM and then it also brings up the art on the cartridge? I mean, that's so cool. Like, what a great idea.
I mean, Sega did that on the Dreamcast in 1999.
Well, I mean, but if you want more than like 20 pixels across the screen. Yeah, that's true. I can't believe I'm not giving Sega credit for that. You're right. Genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been waiting for that. And like this year's cart is just a recap of the first 10 years, which I own the last few, but I didn't get in early enough. So I'm kind of excited and looking forward to that. But yeah, I didn't do a whole lot other than on my personal YouTube channel. I like to do a Christmas video every year, something really stupid that I find hilarious. And this year, my kids and I spent a couple days over the Christmas break putting that together. We came up with our little Christmas story and put a Super Mario Odyssey twist in there. So that was kind of fun. That was my excitement over the hiatus, I guess.
Yeah, that was a great video.
It's entertaining.
Your kids are destined for stardom, I think, too.
Yeah. Or, the other thing is like I pull these videos out in like 12 years when they're dating people and just like humiliate the hell out of them, which I think is the more logical route.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that. At least I got, the ammo's there. It'll serve its purpose. My son, especially from this year's, is just going to be traumatized. And then I guess, the only other thing is like Andy, you and I and Cartridge Fun, Nate, Cartridge Fun on YouTube and Twitter and all those places. We just took a trip down to South Dakota to Sioux Falls. We hit up that Last Stop CD shop, was doing like 50% off all video games. So
Yeah, that was a really good sale, and I'm surprised. Like, I mean, there was a decent amount of people, but it wasn't insane.
no, and if you like really, if you were there and you like, I think especially in the case of like you and I, like we'll buy games for any system if it's something interesting. Like they have so much inventory that even as picked over as stuff got later on, by the time we got to the second shop, there were still good deals to be had. And it was kind of, I was expecting it to be wiped after we got out of that first store, but no, it was still good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a fun trip.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think we'd gone out on a game hunting trip like that for a long time. And then
Right.
what I liked is on the way down, we're talking about different games and like I don't know, like I found myself, I got in this like weird tangent where I'm just like, I don't know, like 30 minutes. Like I just went down this weird rabbit hole where I'm just like complaining about the hobby and how impossible it is to collect games and it's not worth game hunting or anything anymore. And then I kind of look back and Nate's looking at me like I'm insane, and I'm like, yeah, like to put this into perspective, I've got you two in a car. We're driving 3.5 hours to Sioux Falls, and all I'm doing is bitching about how the hobby's like. I'm like, I've become such a cynical prick. Like, and then, and I loved how Andy and I got talking about like, I'm like, well, I think I'm done with the Wii. I'm not collecting anymore for the Wii. Like maybe SNK classics for the Wii. So then, this is like a weird story that unfolds throughout the day. We get to the first Last Stop CD shop. It's busy. Andy and I are like, I ended up over by you at one point over in the Wii U section. We're both going through the Wii U things. And he grabs the SNK collection for the Wii off the shelf and holds it out to me. And here's how I thought it went down. He says, "Do you have this?" And I say, "No." And then he throws it in his basket. And I was like, well, okay, that's kind of rude. I mean, we kind of talked about it. And then, so I'm like, whatever. I forget about it. There's a million things going on. People are everywhere. We get to the next store. And I go through the Wii section again, and I find a copy of SNK Arcade Classics, and I grab it this time. Like, this one's mine, yes. And then as we are going to get into the car, I'm showing Andy what I bought. He's like, I asked you if you wanted that at the last store. I'm like, oh, you said, do you want this? I thought you said, do you have this? And then you just threw it in your basket like a prick. So, like, this complete misunderstanding where I thought Andy had been kind of an asshole and taken this game that he knew I wanted could have been completely avoided. It was so stupid. I laughed so hard when we figured that out. I was like, oh, that makes way more sense now. Like a lot more sense.
I'm glad we did figure that out. Otherwise, that would have been like,
yeah. Yeah, no, that was fun. We got some really good stuff on the way back. Those stores also have some awesome vinyl. I'm big into vinyl, and I got some great records. So yeah, it was good. And those Goodwill records. I'm glad you told me to pick up Rainbow. That Rainbow album I got is awesome.
Yeah, you love
really,
it.
Really, yeah, it's really, really good.
See,
I'm really impressed.
I should have grabbed those other ones. I put them back at the last second, but
yeah. Well, like you said though, it's like, do you really need one more thing? I mean, your collection's huge. You've already got laser discs. I mean, you don't want to get into vinyl,
right?
You'd have to build a second story in your house.
Mm-hmm. That's a plausible excuse too, though, right? Vinyl.
Well, that's true. Maybe, yeah. So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I mean, getting out and going game hunting like that, especially, with a couple other collectors who are into it, it's a good time.
Yep. Just don't do it enough.
No, that's the thing. Is like, it's hard to find the time to get out and do that. But with a day trip like that, it might be something where we have to kick it off more often and just get out there and see what's nearby. Because I mean, really, we got some pretty amazing stuff, and we weren't too far from home.
Right. Yep.
I've mainly just been playing the same couple games, but I did get a Scuff controller for PS4, so it's kind of nice to get that for Christmas.
Nice.
From my mother-in-law and wife.
That's awesome.
What have you been playing with it?
Well, that was me. Fortnite. Okay. Call of Duty. I did. A friend of mine actually bought Xbox One, and him and I are game sharing. He got PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So I played a little bit of that. overall, it's a pretty fun game too. There's ongoing issues with the game as far as load in and server network rubber banding, I guess, and stuff like that. But for the most part, once you get on the ground and after about the first 30 seconds, then the game is good. It's the initial plane ride in and hitting the ground and waiting for stuff to show up.
Sure.
So I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get that working or how they would, because that's such a huge map for console.
Right.
I don't know if they will get that successfully going, but it's a pretty fun game though. Better than I expected it would be on Xbox, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad it didn't come out like not that, so I guess I shouldn't use the word polished because it's not like the PC version is super polished, but as much as they hyped that up and as much as I think Microsoft needed that to be their killer app, it's kind of a bummer that it came out with everybody just being kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's a thing that needs some work. I mean, it's good to hear that they're making progress, but it would have been nice if they'd landed firmly, with that initial rollout, I think. It would have helped Microsoft a lot, especially in the holiday season.
It's kind of funny though too. Like they had an article from one of the guys that was in on creating the game, and how Microsoft is saying it's an exclusive, and how everybody's saying exclusive. It's only exclusive because PlayStation doesn't allow early access, like we talked about before.
Right.
Like the creators, like it's coming to PS4. It's just we can't until it's done.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. Well, I think they were saying too, like it was a resource management thing, right? I mean, you still had this team trying to build and finish the PC version, which didn't go to alpha, didn't go to gold until this month, and then also trying to manage another port. I think,
Yeah.
You think now that they've got a console version under their belt and they've got the money rolling in to like beef up their staff, that I bet that PS4 version drops before the end of 2018.
I would assume that we would have a release date within the next, 4 or 5 months here, and it'll be within this year for sure.
Do you think it will matter though? I mean, given the numbers of people playing Fortnite, do you think it can topple Fortnite at this point on PS4? I don't know that it can.
No, I don't think it will at all, but I think it'll do just fine on PS4. Right. The Fortnite kind of jumped in out of nowhere, I guess, really. Like, I didn't even know they were doing a Battle Royale until it came out, really. And that game, it plays probably perfect. I don't know. Like, I have no issues with that game ever, and I could play it all day, every day, and not get bored of it. Like,
and it's free. That's the big
part. It's free.
Like, right, that's the thing. Anyone can grab it.
Plenty of money on the skins and virtual currency and stuff.
So, like,
plus it's Epic Games.
I hadn't played that in quite a while with you guys because, like, I didn't want to be the shitty guy bringing down your squad. But then we did play. I guess now that we're talking about it, I did play a couple of games with you over the holiday break, and they added that RPG only mode. And it turns
exclusive, yeah.
Yeah. So that was awesome because it turns out all you have to do to make me good at that game is just fucking give me a rocket launcher. Because for people who can't otherwise shoot and kill people, I was like a beast in that game mode for some reason. It was unbelievable.
It's not really just give you a rocket launcher; it's give everybody else rocket launchers.
Hey, now, no. This is all on me.
When you said that, when you said it was only RPG only, I thought you meant role playing. So here I'm picturing like, oh, you can't play on this map unless you're like role playing as dogs or something like weird like that.
That would be an awesome weekend mode too, actually.
That game mode is probably my favorite one that they've added. They just got done with sneaky silencers, which they added that silenced pistol in the SMGs a while back.
Okay.
So that game mode was all right, but it wasn't my favorite, and it was probably would be my next one. But High Explosive was definitely the best one I've played.
I hope they get to a point where they like keep some of those alternate modes, where they get like 3 or 4 that are just always available.
Yeah.
instead on rotation. Because yeah, I would constantly play that high explosive one. It's just like the stupidity of the whole thing is great.
Well, that we went on a tear. What was it, like 4 or 5 wins in a row? And
Yeah, we
then
went a whole night where we lost the first game and then we won every game through the rest of the night. It was awesome. And then you and Tyler perfecting rocket rides and like just rocketing each other across map was pretty entertaining.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So many battle royale games do you think there will be in 2018? That should be like the prediction.
Well, Call of Duty will have one. Battlefield will have their version.
Yeah.
I would imagine we're going to see a couple other indie budget versions of it that aren't going to be quite as good, maybe have less players, that are just online store only. I bet there's going to be about 8.
I'm going to guess there's
8.
going to be one that's going to try to go for a lot more players, too.
10,000 player battle royale.
Like,
Everyone's
never
online
fill.
all the time.
The game app will never fill because
Yeah.
there won't be enough players playing that shitty game. But just to try a different aspect of it. But there'll be tons of them.
What is that shitty game that nobody's buying from Cliff Blazinski or whatever?
Oh, Lawbreakers?
Lawbreakers? Yeah, like Lawbreakers is probably going to do this so that someone actually pays attention to their game.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see it. That's the whole thing is I would love to see a take on this where it's more sci-fi based in that you have like rocket boosters and stuff just to make it more ridiculous. I think Andy, I even mentioned it to you. It's like, what if what's that game that's not coming out for the Xbox One? The third one?
Crackdown?
Yes. If Crackdown 3 had this mode, how awesome would that be?
That'd be
Like
cool.
freaking 50-story skyscrapers, like you can jump off anything. It would be just bonkers.
That would be pretty interesting, actually. Like when you were first talking about rocket boosters, I was like, that game sounds awful.
But like you play to its stupidity, you know what I mean? It's like you don't do it in a logical way. You just make it dumb as hell, and I think it would be awesome. It might be the only thing that could save that game at this point.
Yeah.
You don't think the 10-year hype?
Yeah, in the PS2 graphics. Those most recent like previews have been awful.
Yeah, that was real bad.
Ugh, it's gonna be a mess if it comes out.
Yeah. I went down a like severe Assassin's Creed Origins hole over the break. And
I did see you on there a lot.
oh, yeah. I pretty much I finally finished it yesterday. Just because it was like I need to finish this story and just get it out of my life. Because, oh man, I get really bad with those type of games when you have a huge map and it's just like icons everywhere. And one thing I really appreciate with Zelda, where it was like you don't constantly just check the map to see where you're going to go next. You just look around and find something interesting.
Yeah, then you go there.
Right. Whereas this, it's just like, okay, I went to this place, open up the map, set the marker to the next one. And then you're just doing that all for hours and not accomplishing anything in the story or anything, it's bad, but it's a really good game. I mean, probably the best Assassin's Creed I've played since Brotherhood, maybe. I don't know. Black Flag is pretty good too, but yeah.
Yeah, everyone keeps talking about how this is kind of a fun experience. You don't even really have to be an Assassin's Creed fan to enjoy it.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting too, because the setting they market it as, oh, you're in Egypt, but it's kind of like later Egypt where like Greece and Rome and all that, and the Romans are like kind of trying to overtake Egypt as well, So it's not just like the old style. The tombs and the pyramids are considered the old world at that point. So
that like clip you shared when you got Origins, was that actually on your TV screen when you like scrolled over the map? There was just like a pair of tits.
Yep.
Sitting there.
Yep.
How does this happen?
So like different users, like you can take pictures and like share it, and then like whatever Ubisoft must like load in from their network, like, oh, somebody took a picture of this over there. And that was like, yeah, that was the first day I played it, where it was like, I'm looking at the map and like, what is this icon? And it's just like, it's really weird. This game, like, most of the time when they have nudity in the video games, they make a big deal about it, or they put it in a spot like where it's like sensationalized that way. And it's like in this game, just like 1 out of 1,000 people or women walking around just don't have a shirt on. There's like, they were just, I don't know if they grew up in the poor part of whatever town you're in and they just couldn't get the shirt or something, but yeah, they're just walking around topless.
Are these like National Geographic topless women where they've like been that way their whole lives? So they're like
pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, they're not like a premiere set of boobs. I'm guessing it's kind of like quasi disturbing, or
right. Yeah, you feel bad. You feel bad for them, kind of, but
you're like, I want to get this lady a bra. Is that a mission in this game? Let's help those puppies out.
Right. It was just so weird because, like, why is that even in there? Like, just take it out. You probably got, you would have got better sales from somebody saying, okay. Some parents would be like, oh, fine, sure, violence, whatever. But if it says that on the box, you probably lost sales for no reason at all.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird choice that I'm surprised they left in there. It's funny, though.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's like historically accurate. Who knows?
Yeah. So have you guys, anybody been watching The Toys Who Made Us yet? That new documentary series on Netflix?
No, you were talking it up pretty well the other day.
Yeah, it's really cool. So apparently there's going to be 8 episodes. 4 dropped right away. And basically what they do is they take one like childhood classic, like 80s, 70s era toy, and they do a 1-hour documentary on it. And yeah, really interesting, really well done. They get back behind the scenes, like the people that worked in the factories, people that worked, on the TV shows that might have been related to properties, just the original creators and the people in the toy company themselves. And it's really good. And it's not like a dry documentary. They're done very well. A lot of humor, just really good. So right now they've got Star Wars, the original Star Wars line, and I guess it goes up into present. Barbie, He-Man, and G.I. Joe, and yeah, just really kind of fascinating, and it's a cool nostalgia blast, for us people growing up in like the 80s and 90s when everyone was getting G.I. Joe and He-Man figures and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely on my watch list.
I have to check that out too.
Yeah, it's really cool. I the only one I didn't watch all the way through is the Barbie one because that didn't hold too much of my interest. But yeah, very, very neat.
Kind of surprises me.
Touché.
How long are they?
I think they're all about 60 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they're not too bad. It's kind of just that sweet spot, with a subject like that where it's just long enough to keep your attention, but not to the point where it just bores you to death. So,
right.
Yeah, some pretty cool factoids in there, like the dude from G.I. Joe, I guess, the guy who originally created that, opted for one-time like cash out buyout versus royalties. So settled for like $100,000 instead of his son estimates like something like 42 million their family would have gotten. And like, he's long gone, but the son looks so defeated when he's telling this story.
Thanks, Dad.
Like, I could have had it all. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
Huh.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah. Somebody I just saw today too, that Hyperkin, the makers of like the Retron and other assorted retro accessories, are making a Game Boy clone, and I don't know, it's all aluminum, so that part's cool, but at the same time, like their build quality is not that great, and for a Game Boy, I feel like you have to be cheap for it to be even worth it, and they're still coming in at like $100. So,
oof.
Yeah,
with their build quality and aluminum, I just imagine it's like a tin can sort of scenario where I'm going to grab it and like crinkle it in half on accident.
Yeah.
Like, no, we made these out of recycled Mountain Dew cans. They're fantastic. And by recycled, we just literally put the guts in a Mountain Dew can. So is it going to play? Is it just going to play traditional? Because okay, aren't they also doing that iOS Game Boy thing? I mean, isn't this kind of already interfering with that market?
Yeah,
Like
I
the
don't know
Android?
whatever happened to that thing. I don't know if that's still on pace or if that came out. I haven't seen anything
Right. Yeah, I haven't either. Is
because that thing looked cool, but
it did. It was neat. But so is this going to play all Game Boy games then, or just
I believe
up
so.
through?
I
So
don't
it'll
know
do
what
advance and
color.
all that.
Oh no,
Okay.
I think it's the originals, but I don't know if it does color or not. It's got a nice like backlit screen and all that stuff. So
That's a weird choice to me.
right, and they're like still talking about how they're still developing it. So like, it's coming out this summer, they claim, but I feel like they're just trying to get it out ahead of a possible Nintendo Game Boy Classic this year.
Sure.
I don't know.
I could see that, I guess.
The iOS one or whatever. That's the smartphone one you were talking about.
Yeah. You just like drop your phone into it. Which, yeah, I mean, there was so much talk about that, and then it's kind of fallen off. I don't know if it ever did release, and if it did, nobody seems to care. I haven't heard anyone talk about it.
Yeah, the only thing I see is it being shared every so often on Facebook, but nothing like current. It's still the same
Yeah.
information about it.
Plus, like, I don't know how that would work on an iOS device, considering you have to
Right.
like load the ROMs on there and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
Yeah, and they lock that crap down. It's pretty. I don't know how many people are going to want to jailbreak their iPhone just to play
for
classic
a hyperkin
it.
device,
Right. Yeah. Not worth it. Yeah. That's interesting. So, I mean, does it look cool at least? Like the initial specs?
yeah, it's like
Or
a
is it-
silvered brush aluminum. The only weird thing is the picture that I saw, like it didn't have like the front plate on it. So like, it's almost like they took the pocket mold maybe and tried to make it the best they could, but they didn't like finish it. I don't know.
Huh.
I'm getting like that chameleon or Coleco chameleon vibe off of this a little bit, where they're just like bringing it to a show and just cobbled together to say like, yeah, we're doing this.
There's just like a Pi Zero in there running it all.
Yeah.
Or a Game Boy Micro, like inside actually running it.
Yeah.
This is a lie.
I did have to laugh though, like they're at CES and they unveiled that. But like today the power went out there. So like the biggest electronic show in the world, and the power went out for like over 2 hours or something like that.
That sucks. I'm surprised that those guys. I guess they have a big enough presence that they can do bigger shows like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm at the point where I just kind of like lost all faith in Hyperkin, other than making like kind of shitty aftermarket controllers. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, the Retron 5 is convenient. That's the only thing I'll ever say about that thing when it works.
I guess maybe Hyperkin will surprise us, but I don't know. I agree. They're probably trying to like jump on the bandwagon and get ahead of Nintendo, but I also don't. I mean, it's not like there aren't other competitors in this arena, and the other ones will play different model games, and then they'll also emulate. So I don't know that just a dedicated reproduction of something that you can already get readily available and cheap makes any sense. I mean, a Game Boy Advance, the standard model is like what, $20?
Yeah.
I mean, why shell out for a premium, OG version of it? When I say premium, it's kind of a joke because I'm sure it's inferior in almost every way. I guess they're probably going to do a backlit screen, which would be awesome.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if Hyperkin does this and then Nintendo actually does theirs, like what the actual demand will be for like Game Boy nostalgia.
Yeah.
looks like
I kind of hope instead of just bringing out like the Game Boy Classic, that they bring out a Super Game Boy Classic and then secretly reveal that the cartridge door on your SNES Classic worked this whole time, and you can drop the Super Game Boy Classic into it. I think that's what's gonna happen. Insider, you heard it here first, folks. Inside scoop.
That'd be pretty good.
looks like they did release that Smart Boy.
Oh, really?
The mobile device, but They only have it's for Android only.
Oh,
So
boy, that must have done really poorly because I've heard nobody really talk about that online.
that's $50.
Interesting.
Yeah, huh. Yeah, I have not heard anybody talk about that.
Kind of surprised it was actually released because absolutely nothing about it.
In the Steven Spielberg movie E.T., why is the alien brown? No reason. In Love Story, why did the two characters fall madly in love with each other? No reason. In Oliver Stone's JFK, why is the president suddenly assassinated by some stranger? No reason. In the excellent Chainsaw Massacre by Tobe Hooper, why don't we ever see the characters go to the bathroom or wash their hands like people do in real life? Absolutely no reason. Worse, in The Pianist by Polanski, how come this guy has to hide and live like a bum when he plays the piano so well? Once again, the answer is no reason. I could go on for hours with more examples. The list is endless. You probably never gave it a thought. But all great films, without exception, contain an important element of no reason. And you know why? Because life itself is filled with no reason. Why can't we see the air all around us? No reason. Why are we always thinking? No reason. Why do some people love sausages and other people hate sausages? No fucking reason.
Come on, don't waste your time explaining that garbage. Let's go.
Just a minute, let me finish. Ladies, gentlemen, the film you are about to see today is an homage to the no reason, that most powerful element of style.
Okay, so we're going to try something a little bit new with the podcast, see if it sticks. We've always kind of been about games, media, movies, cartoons, all of that, but it was mixed in sort of an uneven way. So we thought maybe we would add a new segment to the podcast where it's similar-ish to Buy, Rent, Burn, but instead of it being a competition, we would basically just watch individually a movie, maybe a TV show. We'll see where it goes and just kind of share our thoughts on that, and see how it flows with the podcast and see how you guys like it. If you think it's a good idea for the segment, shoot us an email, hit us up on Twitter, let us know. But basically, we have picked a movie that we all watched for this episode, but we have not named this segment yet. And this is something that I thought would be fun to do while we record, just so you guys get to hear the ridiculous process and see what we stick with. Do you guys have any brilliant ideas for what we name this movie portion of the podcast?
David Crane's Amazing Movie Time.
I kind of like that. Like, that's pretty awesome. I think that might be like the legit way to go. I like that a lot.
I don't know. That's kind of like a throwaway. Who knows how long that joke is going to stick. There's only so many David Crane's games that we can perpetuate on this podcast.
But let's just like abbreviate it and we'll just call it like DC AMT, and like nobody will get it. And then finally someone will ask, we're like, oh, you didn't know? It's David Crane's Amazing Movie Time. Well, my idea that I've been just stewing, I've really been wanting to run this by you guys, but I was thinking we should call it The Man Today. Yeah? Yeah?
Huh?
Yeah?
I like that. Yeah.
I mean, it would work.
Kind of homoerotic, fits the podcast.
I like it.
I don't know if I do. I just thought it was really stupid. I actually kind of like your thing better. David Crane's Amazing Movie Time.
I do prefer the David Crane's Amazing Movie Time, to be honest.
Can we get a Foot Locker coupon thrown in with David Crane's Amazing Movie Time?
Can we get him to just
We could probably get a Foot Locker franchise.
announce it so we can add that to the podcast? Like, with him announcing this time.
Yeah, I like it.
We can't let him listen to any of the other podcasts first, though.
Well, no, this is the first one we've done, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We start on, 12 or 13, whatever we are.
Yeah, up until this point, we're completely neutral about David Crane. So.
100%. We certainly didn't torch his game this episode or any other episode or on a recap of our Byron Burns from previous episodes. Nothing but positive David Crane references on this show, folks. I think we have to do it. Like, it's so dumb. I love it. All right. So on the inaugural episode of David Crane's amazing movie time on Weekend Rental Podcast, we all watched the fantastic 2011 Rubber. And this was a Justin pick. I think we should rotate it so like we'll all do a pick, right? It'll be like a Justin pick, an Andy pick, a Ryan pick. So, but anyway, this is a Justin pick. So a little bit of background and why this segment's kind of fun for Andy and I is that Justin watches no movies ever. He's largely missed the greatest pop culture movie icon films of our entire generation because he can't stay awake through any movie. However, Rubber, he claims to have watched, I don't know, half a dozen times, and somehow this is your favorite movie?
It's not my favorite movie, but it's one everybody needs to see.
And
I've seen it 8 times.
What's a little...
And I do own it now.
Oh, gosh, nice. So give us a little rundown. What is this movie about?
I don't know.
It does make you dumber, folks. This is a proven fact. So
it's about Robert. Robert is a tire.
He has a name?
Yeah,
it's Robert.
It's Robert.
I don't know. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Robert Goodyear, but that's beside the point. But yeah, so Robert's a tire, and he goes around. Well, he finds out that he can kill things, blow things up, and goes around killing people
with telekinesis.
Yeah, with these people watching, or this person watching, ends up being. And I don't know why they're watching, but I don't know. It's just something everybody needs to watch at least once.
I think so. I like dumb stuff, and I hated this movie, but the opening 5 minutes of this movie is maybe one of the greatest things in cinema.
The opening is my favorite.
Yeah, there's just like a dude out in the desert holding like 30 pairs of binoculars. He runs off the road, and then in the same frame, there's this gravel road with like 12 wood chairs on it, and a cop car rounds the corner, drives like 3 miles an hour, swerving to hit every chair scattered across the road. And then the cop parks in the middle of the road, gets out and gives a monologue about how basically nothing in any cinema or film matters. Like, why is E.T. Brown? Doesn't matter. And it's just like, what the hell am I watching? I thought this was a movie about a tire who blew things up with its mind. Then you have this bizarre... It was, I mean, that's where it peaked for me. Like, I'm super glad I've seen this movie just for that. But like, wow, it's just bonkers.
You missed the best part of it. He gets out of the trunk and holds a glass of water for no reason.
That's right. He does get out of the trunk, doesn't he?
Yep. And then he dumps the water. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie is the same.
Well, I don't know. It gets worse, and longer.
I like how during it too, they're like, "Why are we still doing this? Because that guy didn't die." Oh,
yeah. Because so basically, that all leads up. The intro leads up to this group of spectators who are then using these binoculars, and then I guess they're the audience for the movie, but they're like on set watching this all unfold. So yeah, the tire like comes to life out of the desert dirt and then starts rolling around and blowing things up. It's so weird because it's like this constant cut. It almost feels like to me that they didn't have enough of a movie idea to make a full movie with just the tire and murdering people. So then they threw in this like weird alternate audience thing, and like nobody in the film is in on it except the guy who gives out the binoculars and then the cop who gives the monologue. And those are the only two people who seem to understand that this is a movie, not some real life scenario. It's just weird.
It's honestly probably one of the dumbest movies I've seen, but it is so dumb that it's great, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I always said before I wouldn't pay money to watch it, but now that's a lie thanks to this podcast.
Yeah, I think
And
I immediately text you because I rented this off of iTunes. I text Justin. I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm more pissed that I spent $3.99 or that I spent 80 minutes watching this.
you could have bought it for $7.
Yeah, I probably should have. I tried to find it locally. I went to like every Best Buy, Walmart. I went to like the used video stores, and now I couldn't find a copy.
I have to agree with Justin. Like when he first pitched this, like, oh, it's a tire that kills people. I thought, okay, that's an amazing premise. I love it already. And honestly, after watching the whole thing, like the tire is kind of the weakest part. I was the most disappointed in the tire because, like, when I think of a killer tire, I think of all the crazy ways that they're gonna run over you with like knives in them, and like all this crazy stuff. But no, he just rolls up to people, like concentrates really hard and blows off their head, like to 20 some plus people. And after a while, that just got too normal. But that like side plot where the audience out on that hill watching with binoculars, I thought was legitimately awesome. Like that is a great premise.
Yeah, it makes a movie. Like,
right.
I feel like you guys watched a totally different movie than I did.
I mean, I've never seen a movie do that quite like that. I've seen some, where like they show like the audience in the theater or something like that. But like to do it like that and then have that actually be part of the plot where the cop is like that section where he gets shot. Like I still can't explain how that worked.
Yeah, how
where he got shot.
Die? That's the thing that I didn't like because like once he realized that the guy wasn't dead and the movie wasn't over, he should have bled out. Is how I thought. Or like,
yeah,
I expected him to fall over and be dead, but then he didn't somehow.
He just kept walking around with blood stains.
What's that? Oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy that clip too, where they're like trying to get the tire to blow up the mannequin, and then like that Hispanic lady's like doing the dirty voice, like, oh baby, and then it wasn't filthy enough, so then the cop just jumps in there and he's saying like all sorts of weird stuff. Like that had me laughing pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So would you say is this a comedy? It's got to be a comedy, right?
I'd go dark comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that guy that had the binoculars and was like feeding the turkey, like he's just like a bad character though. Like like why you knew the food was poisoned, why did you eat it? Like I don't understand that.
Yeah, that was really dumb. He killed himself.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Kip from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking he was. But yeah, we left out that crucial plot point where they murdered everyone in the audience, including a small boy, through food poisoning.
Except for one person.
Some reason. Yeah, the old guy didn't. It was weird.
Yeah, he didn't eat it.
How about the
I don't understand why the guy ate the food even though he knew it.
Yeah.
I guess that helps make it
reason.
Confusing.
It was the best
No reason.
movie about a homicidal tire that I've ever seen. I can easily say that. I don't know that I need to watch it again. I am glad I guess I experienced it.
Yeah, that's typically how I pitch it too. It's a movie that everybody needs to see, not really more than once. And I used to be able to say that I've only seen it 7 times, but I've seen it 8 now, so I'm getting up there.
Can't believe, Justin, if you have trouble staying awake, that you were able to watch this movie. There is some times in this movie that it goes so slow. Like when the tire's out in the desert, just like fucking around with shit. Like that,
Yeah.
It's like 20 minutes of just a tire going across the desert, and there's like nothing happening.
Well, that was kind of like
falling over.
One of the most interesting pieces to me, though, is like how they sort of explain how this tire, which I guess is more or less born on film, like learns about the world and discovers its powers. Like it rolls up and hits a rock, and it can't go around it. So it's like cool. I can't screw with rocks. Then it like comes up to like a plastic bottle, and it like tests that, and then it rolls over and crushes it. But then strangely, it comes up to a bunny, and it's just like I can blow it up, and then that's how it learned. I guess it was weird. It was
Ever since then.
yeah, it was kind of an interesting concept how they like showed the progression of a tire, I guess.
Oh, he learned it on the glass bottle, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. It was the glass bottle because he couldn't roll over the glass bottle, and then he like
Yep.
freaked out and it blew up. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of interesting, but yeah, I agree. That stuff went on for way too long.
Character
Yeah.
development of a inanimate object.
Yeah.
So I mean, the spoiler of the end of the movie, like it kind of sets up a sequel, doesn't it?
I hope not. It does though, because there's like a tire army about to descend on the hills of Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's led by a trike.
That could be. Well, it's the tire reincarnated as a trike. I mean, get it right.
The guy at the end.
Yeah, but technically the movie's over because that spectator blew up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
You're thinking too logically about this.
Well, I think
64% of Google users like this movie.
that's a lot. That seems alarmingly high. I think I would give Rubber 2 blobs out of 5. Is my vote.
Oh boy, I will do. It's got to be 3 blobs for me.
Yeah, I got to go 3 blobs as well.
There you go. That's not a.
Maybe I should go 3.5 since I picked it.
I mean, it's tough because it's like this movie. You gotta be the right person to get this movie. Like, there's
Right.
a lot of people I know that I would never show this movie to, and be
No.
like, "Yeah, I've watched this. I like this movie." Like, that says a lot about me to them, and I don't want them to think that. So,
This is like one of those movies that's like so effed up. You know how there's like stoner humor, or like if you're high, it's like super funny. Like I think if I was high, this would scare the shit out of me. Like
Yeah,
I'd be
I
so
don't-
confused. I'd be terrified of every tire I saw. Like I wouldn't know if things were real. Like, am I in a movie or people are looking at me? Am I on film right now? Like, oh my gosh, yeah.
oh yeah, if you had any type of paranoia, that would be a bad.
I would love to show this in like a freaking theater house in like Colorado or something and just watch the madness.
Then you just have to have a tire roll through
Yes.
after it's over.
Yes. Oh, sounds great. We need to make this happen. Well, there you go. David Crane's Amazing Movie Time, inaugural edition. Let us know what you guys think. Because, I mean, the name alone is fantastic. I'm sure everyone's running out to find themselves a copy of Rubber at this point.
If you're going to advertise it to other people too, you have to explain. You just tell them the name of the movie, Rubber, and then it's about a tire, so they don't get the wrong idea.
Right. That's critical. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. There's probably some movies from another industry called Rubber that they might accidentally stumble upon.
Yeah.
Could get in trouble depending on who you recommend this to. All right.
I am just glad
Okay.
I had you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad after all these years of you just talking about this movie that I finally watched it.
I'm happy I saw it. I don't think I would ever watch it again, but I'm that, like you said, like that first opener is a masterpiece.
Absolutely. It could have ended right there and I'd have like left happy. Well, I think that's gonna wrap episode 13. We hope you guys enjoyed like the slightly tweaked, more casual format. We're gonna try to keep streamlining the show, I guess, making it better. We'll see where it goes in 2018, but onwards and upwards, I guess. Justin, do you want to take us out?
Sure. So we do have a website, You can check us out there at www.weekendpodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can go ahead and like the page on there. It's going to be Weekend Rental Podcast. You can communicate back and forth on either Facebook or Twitter, email as well. But Twitter is at Weekend Rental PC. Like we mentioned earlier, we do have a YouTube channel. Or I guess we didn't really mention it, did we?
No, but we're mentioning it now. That counts.
Yeah. So yeah, we do have a YouTube channel. We kind of break up segments. I think that may change, but
yeah, we're gonna experiment a little bit.
And I guess we'll see what uploads go up there. You can let us know feedback either through Twitter, Facebook, email. Our email is weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play. And as always, be kind and rewind.